it looks like we had a huge story that
broke
down here recently. So I'm going to play the clip real quick, and then we will comment.
Yeah.
Charges unsealed today for Tal, Oren, and Oren Alexander detail heinous crimes allegedly carried out by these individuals. The Alexander brothers allegedly conspired to prey on innocent women, coercing them into engaging in sexual acts. The defendants allegedly used their wealth and status to recruit and pay for the travel of their intended victims, and then manipulated them into participating in sexual acts without their consent. The FBI's investigations into these types of cases are only possible because of the bravery victims show in coming forward. We are committed to doing everything in our power to advocate for victims. The FBI has dedicated professionals ready to support them. We will hold those who victimize them responsible for their actions. If you or someone you know is a victim in this case, the number to call is 1-800-CALL-FBI, or email us at alexander-case@fbi.gov. We will not allow this type of alleged behavior to go unimpeded. Predators forcefully coercing victims into sexual acts cannot and will not be tolerated. The FBI, along with our law enforcement partners, are committed to investigating sex trafficking and ensuring anyone attempting to engage in it is held accountable in the criminal justice system.
So I don't want to, I mean, I understand why this infuriates me to no end is obviously that this is an Israeli family. And these are very, very privileged people. And what bothers me so much in this country is how much why this bothers me. And it is not that I think, first of all, the boys, the brothers were born in this country. Their parents are Israeli. So it's really just a matter of an example. But, you know, we hear so much punching down towards immigrants, in all different ways. Okay. Whether it has to do with the labor force, whether it has to do with the one violent crime that they keep happened by somebody who was an undocumented person, when we know that immigrants definitely commit less violent crime. We know this, but one of the things we keep hearing over and over again, not even just about the Haitians, although Haitians eating dogs and cats, and you got to worry about your pets. That's all that kind of
eating the dogs, they're eating the cats.
And I just want to be very clear that if we are under threat from certain immigrants here in South Florida, to me, it's the Israelis. It's the Israelis. What we're having now, to me, is a situation akin to when Nazi Germany, when a lot of the Nazis fled to like Argentina. This is the kind of stuff that's now happening here. To me, I believe that if you poll, and my understanding is that this has been done a few times over the past 14 months, the typical Israeli, they are totally okay with what's going on in Gaza, regardless of their opinion about Netanyahu. They are good with what's going on in Gaza. They are good with ethnic cleansing. That means that the majority of Israelis are genocidal. Well, I don't want genocidal immigrants coming here. I don't want that here. To me, that's a problem. But the point is, there's this level of like protection and entitlement that we've always known over certain types of immigrants over other types of immigrants. So the fact that Israelis that come here anyway are wealthy, they're affluent, and they're considered white. They're white and affluent. So we like those immigrants. Please keep coming over here. As genocidal as you might be, as sex trafficking as you might be, please come over here. But we're worried about poor people trying to cross over the border from like, you know, Honduras or Guatemala or where, like, I mean, this is the kind of nonsense that we're dealing with. And nobody questions wealthy Israelis. You just come on in, bring your genocidal thoughts in here. No worries. It drives me insane. That's why.
Tal and Oren Alexander, top real estate brokers and brothers who started at real estate company Douglas Elliman, and their brother Alon were arrested Wednesday morning. They were arrested by state authorities on sexual battery charges and are expected to be transferred into federal custody after their initial appearance in state court. Tal Oren Alexander briefly appeared before a federal judge in Florida on Wednesday afternoon and is expected to make another appearance Friday. Prosecutors in Miami-Dade County said they were coordinating with federal officials in New York, which was probably the whole Miami-Brooklyn connection and probably the whole transfer of the women. There's going to be the reason why they're being taken down, even though these are people that you would normally consider to have, again, they are rich Israelis in Miami who do real estate.
Yeah.
They basically have diplomatic immunity for all intents and purposes. But if there is one thing that Trump, and especially the Trump side of right populism, has been very adamant about, it is sex trafficking. This is a huge issue for them, and these guys are not going to be protected. This is something where they may very well end up getting life in prison. And so as a result,
they won't survive that. These boys,
three brothers face 15 years to life in prison if
they'll never make that.
Charges. Remember, here's the one thing we can always say and often say about the FBI. When they nail your ass, you're pretty much done. You're not getting out of it because they don't waste their resources on these types of cases unless they have the goods. This is what they do. 95 or 96% conviction rate. Although they are Israeli, so who knows? They may fall into that 4 or 5 percentile. The prosecutors allege the Alexander brothers worked together and with other men, of course, to repeatedly and violently drug, sexually assault, and rape dozens of victims in New York, Miami, and elsewhere. The newly unsealed federal indictment charges the brothers for a scheme from 2011 through 2021. You can imagine there are hundreds of victims here, at least. But prosecutors say the sexual violence against dozens of women spans more than 20 years, dating as far back as to when the men were in high school. You know what? I don't need to read this any further, and I'll tell you why.
So that being the case, then that has to go beyond just them. Now you're talking that has to involve older people that were involved. You don't just all of a sudden in high school that's not how that works.
Well, it's not just older people, but this is also the lesson that we are learning today that I think a lot of people are really missing, and why Israel is acting the way that it's acting with such impunity is because of acts like this. How do you know that these guys weren't caught back in 2011, 2013, 2015?
We don't.
And nothing happened to them. So they decided, we really are bulletproof, so let's just keep going. Why? Because money and power allows things to get swept up under the rug. That's why I always got upset when people were targeting Trump. I'm like, you think Trump's the problem? It's the system that's the problem. People of this level of prominence are essentially untouchable. These jackoffs, these Israeli scumsuckers that live in a very secluded, affluent part of the country where only their kind is welcomed. You want to talk about real racism?
Yes.
I've been in these areas. Let me assure you, if you're not one of them, you're not welcome.
No,
they will never have you there. You are not. The restaurants are that way. The police department is that way. This is extremely affluent and isolated. And so, like I said, it was as if they could do no wrong, and they were treated as if they could do no wrong.
So what happened that's different? We don't know.
And we're not going to know for a while.
No, we won't know for a while.